Здравствуйте, меня зовут Лобачева Полина Сергеевна, я обучаюсь в МГПУ и я по направлению педагогическое образование английский язык. И сегодня я хотела бы предоставить вам урок для 9 класса по теме пассивный залог, страдательный залог и образование вида временных форм глагола. Цели урока образовательные включают в себя формирование понятия о страдательном залоге, способствование сопоставлению форм активного и страдательного залогов, способствование формированию навыков употребления пассивного залога в речи и на письме. Развивающие цели урока – это развитие умения правильно употреблять формы страдательного залога, способствование совершенствованию навыков и умений грамматического письма, способствование развитию произвольных навыков, произносительных навыков, а также на памяти и внимания. Воспитывающие цели урока включают в себя способствование формированию умений делать выводы, выделять главное, понимая важность изучения всех аспектов английского языка и потребность пользоваться им как средством общения. В оснащение данного урока входит платформа Zoom, а также УМК Spotlight 9 класс. Hello, dear students. How are you today? That's very well. I'm fine. Thank you. So today we're going to start a very important topic on grammar, but probably repeated because you've already studied it, but it's not in that kind of a detail that we're going to discuss today. But first things first, we have to drill on our phonetics. Today we're going to discuss again the notorious sound M. So, do you remember where we actually can meet those? Yes, when we have a verb with the gerund. Yes, so let's just start and drill on our pronunciation. Please repeat after me. Reading, king, speaking, interesting, singer, ring. If you're having difficulty trying to repeat those words after me, please rewind the video or pause it just to read it off with transcription. If you feel like you have still some difficulty literally pronouncing those sounds, there's a little trick for you that I have. You can also pluck your nose like that, and the sound will come off naturally. Just try that. Yeah, that's very good. And just try and mind transcription and how it's written. Okay, so I would like you to actually try and guess today's theme. Look at the slide. I cooked the dinner. The dinner is cooked by me. He is repairing the car. The car is being repaired by him. Can you guess what kind of grammar rule we are today to discuss? Yes, you are correct. That's passive voice. So let's remember how the passive voice is actually structured. So, as you can remember, passive voice can be constructed with the verb be and the verb in the third form. Look at the sentences on the slide again. Somebody cleans this room every day. That is just our everyday active voice that we use in normal sentences, where we have the subject, the verb, the object, and other things. But look at the second sentence. This room is cleaned every day. Okay, what kind of thing happens? Well, the object that we had, meaning this room, it's changing, and it's changing into the subject. So in passive voice, object becomes the subject, and the object itself just eliminates. So, therefore, the subject that we had in the first sentence, can you see that it's not present? Well, here's the reason why. We use passive voice when we don't know who did something, when we are interested in what happens, but not who it's done by. And Additionally, that you might not have known when the situation is rather formal. So look at the picture. Here's an example. The book is being read. That meaning that we don't actually care for the girl who's reading the book or where she reads or how slowly or fast she reads it. We just care about the position of the book. We probably need it or we want to understand what it's doing, sort of. Is that clear for now? Okay. We've mentioned active voice. Do you remember anything about it? Yeah, it's basically the structure of a basic sentence. Can you see the Russian slide? Please read it and understand that sometimes active voice is just the basic grammar rules. Okay. In passive voice constructions, we say who or what tool was used to do particular actions. When we do that, we use prepositions. So please know that and try to remember. We use preposition by when we want to stress who is doing something. Again, by when we want to stress who is using. We use preposition with when we want to state what tool is used to do something. Again, with is what tool or instrument or something is done by. Is that clear? I hope it is. Let's move on. If my explanation was not clear so far and you're having difficulty with understanding what I'm talking about in English, please pause the video and try to understand and sink in some information from the slide in Russian. Okay, wonderful. The main thing that we have to remember about passive voice is that the construction to be plus verb in the third form or with ending ed. Of course, if that's just a simple regular verb, have to be the same. Okay. So here in this table, which is pretty much extensive, we can understand that we cannot just make up the passive voice whatever we want. We have to determine the tense first. So for example, if we have a sentence in past simple, for example, she read the book. What we would be doing is that the book was read by her. See, it's very important to kind of understand the tense that the active voice is used with to construct the sentence with passive voice. Please read all of those formulas that you see on the slide and try to understand them. Wonderful. The only thing that I want to note in this very simple rule before we go to the practice is that only thing that changes in this construction within the time frames is the verb to be. So basically, we will have to remember that to be has three forms: present, past, and future. Present forms are am, is, are. Past forms are was, were, and the future forms are will be. There will be no difficulty for you to determine next steps. But one thing to notice first. When it comes to modal verbs, things are pretty easy there. On the slide, you can see 3 modal verbs, but of course you can apply them to all of the others. For example, might, which also can be connected with may. So when it comes to modal verbs, the only thing that we do is use modal verb plus be in the infinitive form, plus verb in the third, or just a regular ed. For example, it must be done. Это нужно сделать. It can be done. Это можно сделать. See, very simple. So right now, I would like you to scan the code and transfer to a video. In there, you will learn some certain rules about passive voice and eliminate some difficulties if you had any with my explanation earlier. Please pause my video and watch the other on YouTube. Wonderful. I hope you didn't have any difficulties. So let's move on. If we just think for a little bit and deduce some strategy for using a passive voice, we can actually understand there is some process that can be involved into this. So for example, step 1, we will have to read the sentence and translate it. Or just to understand the context fully, we might just, simplify it a bit. Step 2 is to find additional part of the sentence. There we will be seeking the object. Do you remember the first slide that I showed you? Yes, that one with examples. You will have to look for the object. Step 3. Determine the tense and choose the correct form of the verb to be. This is the most essential part. I've already told you about present, past, and future tenses of the verb to be. So the only difficulty is actually determining the tense. And the final and fourth step is to understand if the additional information on the action is needed. Then we will have to use prepositions. Do you remember what are those? I will be very kind to remind you. By equals who, with equals what was used. Okay, I hope you're not having any difficulty with understanding. So right now, I would like us together to transform some sentences and use, of course, the passive voice. So let's start. I will read the sentences and then I will read the correct variant. You can choose to pause the video and think of the variant yourself and then hear my correct version. Okay. My mother washes our clothes on Saturdays. The correct variant is our clothes are washed on Saturdays by my mother. The second one, the people on duty will clean the blackboard during the break. The correct variant is the blackboard will be cleaned during the break by the people on duty. Number 3, Vasnitsov painted nice pictures. The correct variant is nice pictures were painted by Vasnitsov. Wonderful, if you're having everything's correct in your set. Fourth one, Mr. Bell listens to the radio in the evenings. The correct variant is the radio is listened in the evenings by Mr. Bell. Number 5, we take tests in English regularly. The correct variant is tests are taken in English regularly by us. Please mind that change from we to us. Okay, number 6. I will visit my relatives next week. The correct variant is my relatives will be visited next week by me. Again, notice the difference between I and we. Number 7. Helen collected her classmates' photos for her new album. The correct variant would be her classmates' photos were collected for Helen's new album. The other correct variant might be her classmates' photos were collected for the new album by Helen. Number 8. They built the theater in 1970. The correct variant would be the theater was built in 1970 by them. Again, mind the change from they to them. Number 9. The mechanic will fix the car tomorrow. The correct variant might be the car will be fixed tomorrow by the mechanic. And the final one. I gave a nice present to my friend on his birthday. And the correct variant might be a nice present was given to my friend on his birthday by me. Okay, wonderful. Let's move on. So here in the table, you can see an example of a translation when we have a change from active voice to passive voice. So I would like you, with me, along, try and translate some sentences. Of course, they will be in passive voice. We have to consider some correct translations. Okay, let's start. I was phoned yesterday. Мне позвонили вчера. We were shown a film. Нам показали фильм. You were sent a letter. Тебе послали письмо. They were told a story. Им рассказали историю. Kate was offered help. Катя или Kate предложили помощь. It's not that difficult if you think about it, is it? Okay, let's move on to our next activity. So I would like you now to scan the code that you see on the slide, and it will move you to another site where you complete some tasks that will be pretty much easy for you if you follow all of my guidance correctly. So pause this video and complete the task. Okay, wonderful. I hope you did very well and you didn't have any difficulty in completing the task. So right now, I would like you to engage in some speaking activity. So you and your partner will have to make up 3 sentences using different passive forms. 2 of them should be a truth and 1 statement should be a lie. Read your sentences and let your partner guess it. Ask more questions to find out which sentence is a lie and then change some roles. So, for example, I might say, once I was mistaken for Jane Fonda, once I was arrested for jaywalking, and recently I have been stung by a bee. You might ask me some questions like, what did that happen? How did that happen? How did you feel? And who you were mistaken by? If you guess that something is a truth or a lie, you win the game. So pause this video and try this activity with your partner. Okay, now you can change roles. Wonderful. I hope it was fun and easy for you. Let's move on. So this is an additional assignment. I hope you won't find this difficult, but if you do, please do ask me some questions. I will be more than welcome to answer them. Scan the QR code and pause this video to complete the task. Perfect. I hope you didn't have any difficulties at all, but if you did, I'm sure that you will understand them in a short amount of time with some practice. Okay, let's move on. So right now, we will solve some problems together. So let's put the verbs in brackets into the correct version of the passive form. Let me remind you that for the first time, we will have to remember the tense that it was used. Okay, I will read the sentences, make a shorter pause before I spell out the correct variant. Does that sound good? I hope it does. So let's start. Number 1. I can give you these articles. They are being translated. Now, here we have a marker now, which can simply indicate present continuous tense. When we have present continuous tense, we use to be in the correct form plus being plus verb in the third form or ending ed. Wonderful. Number 2. The letter will not be written tomorrow or won't be written tomorrow. Wonderful. Number 3. English is spoken all over the world. Number 4. She showed me a picture that was painted by her husband. Here we can understand that this is a past tense because we have ending ed at the first part of the sentence. Then, by simple deduction, we can understand that the whole sentence has a past meaning. Therefore, we can only place something that has a past tense to it. Then, was painted. Wonderful. I hope you understand everything so far. Number 5. My dress is clean now. It had been washed. Yes, correctly. Number 6. All the questions on the paper must be answered. Good job. Number 7. These houses were built in 1500. Wonderful. Number 8. Rugby have been played since 1845. Number 9. My house was being painted the whole day yesterday. Here we have passive voice that's formed from past continuous tense, simply because we have a lot of markers to it. The whole day, meaning the prolongation of the moment, and yesterday, meaning something that happened in the past. So it's pretty easy to deduce that something of a past continuous form is here. Therefore, was being used. Okay, and the last one. Flowers usually are sold in the streets. Okay. Thank you very much for such a wonderful lesson. You've been great pupils to me, but I would like you to answer some questions for me to understand how did you enjoy the lesson, or have you enjoyed it at all? So, can you answer, what have you learned today? Yes, structures of passive voice and how it can be used in your speech. Or frightened. Do you think you did well? I hope you did, and I hope you feel well after this lesson. Do you have anything that you are confused about? Okay, I'll note that. Do you think you need some additional help with the material that we are trying to learn? Okay. Do you need any help with it? Okay. Do you think you want to know more about grammar than we did today? And do you have any idea what we are going to do next lesson? Okay, wonderful. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling after this lesson? I hope you're feeling more calm and more joyful. Okay, bye. See you next time. Your assignment is just to learn the forms of passive voice and understand how the whole structure works in a sentence sense. Okay, see you next time. Bye.